Welcome, Knight fans, to another edition of Holding Court with head coach Todd Dagenais. I'm Jeff Sharon, joining you for the first time this year. Coach, your team is off to a very good start as we start the 2010 season, 3-0, and they tell me it is the first time that UCF Volleyball has started back-to-back seasons 3-0 since 1978 and 79, and those were some pretty good years for UCF Volleyball. There was a national championship sandwiched in between that. Now, as far as the goals for you guys are concerned, hey, let's take them as they come. 3-0, coming off of Houston Baptist, Florida Gulf Coast, and Bethune-Cookman. What were your major impressions from these first three matches?
Well, we know we can't achieve any of our season goals without going 3-0 that first weekend. And I think the big thing for me, Jeff, was how well we responded to being pushed and how well we responded to pressure. Florida Gulf Coast had over 1,000 people in the gym when we played them, part of their welcome back week, and that was really an intimidating environment for us to play in. And we were able to kind of withstand them for the first 15 points and then put a little spurt together to go away with that first set. And then we get to the second set and we were battling, and there was a point where we were down 23-21 and scored 4 straight points to win at 25-23. And that's when I thought, you know, we might have the makings of a tough team here. We won not easily the third game, but we were able to get through the third game, and then we made it through that weekend 3-0 without dropping a set. So what does that mean? That means that we're able to respond to the challenge that was in front of us, and of course that now sets us up for whatever's next on the list.
You mentioned to me last year that one of the things that you really wanted to see that younger group of players do is learn how to really love playing on the road, going into a hostile gym, everyone hooting and hollering at them, and just take in that environment and love it. Did you see that last week?
Yeah, there was no doubt. It was something that we talked about beforehand. So whenever you get in a situation like this, you have to bond close together. You have to be your support system. You have to create your own energy. And that's exactly what the team did. Is they went out there and they really thrived in that situation where people were rooting against them. And if you can do that on the road, where you enjoy that and you embrace that, you can be a pretty good team winning those road matches.
Who surprised you this past weekend from everyone on your roster?
Well, I think Danny Harrison continues to be the surprise of the season so far. We had mentioned before that Meredith has not gone backwards at all in the libero position. She continues to improve. But Danny has improved by leaps and bounds. And I really feel like we have 2 quality liberos on our roster. And then with the addition of Roxy Mendez, who played in every single match, every single set for us this weekend, our backcourt is as solid as it's ever been. Might even be as solid as any team I've ever been coaching. So Danny continues to really impress. Evia finally broke through. She broke through at the South Florida match at the end of last year, and she hasn't looked backwards yet. Had a great weekend. But Kristen Fisher has become old reliable. When you need a play, Kristen Fisher was there to make it all weekend long. I'm glad that she was able to make the all-tournament team along with Evia and Meredith, but I was really disappointed that she didn't get MVP, and I'm not afraid to say that. I think somebody that puts up over 5 kills a game, scores 5.5 points a game, hits over 300, should have been the MVP of the tournament, and I really felt like she deserved it. Now she'll tell you, she'll blow it off, and that's what she should do. But I was really impressed with how she performed. She kept the team together and really put us in position to win.
One of the big storylines coming into this season, I thought, was the fact that you lose those 2 seniors from last year in Campbell and Youngblood. Who steps into that role? Has Fisher taken over that position for you as the leader of the team on and off the floor?
Yeah, well, Andy and Campbell left us. They really led us through some dark times last year with all the injuries. We kept the team together, and we never lost our composure because of them. And so it's really tough to replace them. I think Fisher has stepped up and is really driving the new attitude. And Sarah Rex has stepped up to also be named captain and continues to drive that winning attitude. And Meredith Murphy continues to step up. The nice thing is we have 2 named captains, and the team really has a lot of faith in Meredith Murphy. So they named her captain in waiting. She'll become a captain after Fisher graduates. But Tori McCutcheon is a leader. Evia Vilde stepped up to be a leader. And there's so many. Brittany Wallace is a fantastic leader. So we have a bunch of leaders that are filling in that role right now. It doesn't just have to be 1 or 2 people.
Take me back between this time last year and now. And I know, obviously, of course, like we mentioned, only 3 matches in. But do you see, and how much do you see, the difference in the maturity level between the younger players who were freshmen last year compared to, and all the playing time that they got compared to now?
I think it's huge. And where I noticed it the most was in critical plays where we had to manufacture something out of nothing. There were more people to be able to step up and make that dig or make that set or take that swing. Whereas last year the chain would be broken at some point and we couldn't get over the top. This year it seems like there's a wealth of people that can step up, and it's because of the year of maturity.
You mentioned, of course, Roxy Mendez's performance from over this weekend, one of another slew of newcomers who've come in for UCF so far. Based on what you've seen, not just on the floor, but also off the floor in practice, how have they adjusted so far now that they're facing live bullets?
Well, you start with Marie. Marie was here in January, so it's a little bit less stressful for her. She's already, in the system and the culture of the team. Rachel Buxton, the transfer from the University of Tulsa, started first 2 matches over the weekend, and she's fit in beautifully. Absolutely, just our offense is running at a huge level right now. But she's so experienced and so composed, and she's so used to winning. And really, for her, she expected to go out there and win. And it's really nice when you have that kind of leadership on the floor where she just doesn't know what losing is, and she stepped up and showed that. But Allison Reiner-Connect didn't get to play this weekend. Again, we're still thinking about the plan of redshirting her. Freshman Katie Tatum is still a little bit under the weather with some injuries right now, so she didn't get much playing time. Of course, Kaylee Screen still recovering from the ACL, so those freshmen didn't get a lot of play time. But Angelica Crump finally got her first action as a college player. Of course, you said Roxy Mendez, and Danny Harrison is playing a huge role for us right now. And Nicole Rydell's finally back. That was somebody that we were both so excited about last year. And
it must be like Christmas in August for you.
It is, because we feel like we've got these bodies back with a little bit of experience, but again, we're still young. And we can't discount the fact that we are still young. Even though we have a year of training, we don't have a lot of game experience. And so right now we're trying to get as much game experience as we can, help us in a position to win.
Well, the game experience continues this coming weekend with the tournament up in UNC Wilmington. 3 tough teams coming in. Wilmington, also Greensboro. UNC Greensboro out to a 5-0 start, like we mentioned before. You also face South Carolina State. Another road tournament, long road trip, hostile environment. What do you want to see this coming tournament from your team?
I want to see whoever schedules our events to take a hike. That's what I want to see. Yeah. No, I mean, it feels like the first year where we were on the road the whole time. And, it's back to that again. 4 out of our first 5 weekends are going to be on the road. That's a scary thing for a young team, especially when you're trying to settle in academically as well. And as academically successful as this team wants to be, that's a challenge. But it is what it is. And so we head up and we have to go play at Wilmington, and we're going to see a tough Wilmington team at home, because home teams are always going to be tough in their tournaments. Greensboro's legit this year. Mm-hmm. They got a great coaching staff out there. Patrick Nicholas is a guy who's been around the USA Volleyball program for a long time. His teams are always ready to play. And you'll remember last year we went up and we played them, and they had us 2-0, and we found a way to come back and beat them at their place. I'm sure they haven't forgotten about that. South Carolina State, I really don't know much about them yet. We're getting some video tonight right now as we're taping this, and we're going to get a better look at them as we head into the week. But it's going to be a challenging event for us to go on the road, have to play a tough home team, have to play an undefeated team on a neutral site, and then a team we don't know a whole lot about. So again, it presents 3 new challenges for us. And I'm excited to see how our young players respond.
And then eventually one day you guys will actually play a couple of home matches coming up, and you can get tickets on UCFathletics.com right now for the upcoming home tournament in the following week. Let's take a look at what's going on nationally, and we'll start out with a couple of teams who've raised some eyebrows out of Conference USA. SMU knocked off Baylor earlier, actually this past week. Baylor's coming in here a little bit, so that is that's a really big boon for Conference USA. Also, Rice off to a very good start. What are your impressions from this first week or 2 of conference play? Some of the teams that you've gotten to maybe not see live action, obviously, but some of the results that they're putting up.
Yeah, it's still hard to say because it is early, and I'm sure teams are trying to find some adjustments and get some freshmen acclimated. But the fact that SMU would go out and be able to beat a Baylor, and it doesn't really surprise me, because I think SMU was one of the sleeper teams last year, and I think they're going to be one of the top teams this year. Yeah. So they're just going out there and they're proving, what a lot of people already thought. They're a really good team. Rice continues to just breed success year after year after year. And the rest of the teams, I think they're just kind of settling in, and it's going to be one of those years where you just don't know how things are going to pan out. But it looks to me on paper, Conference USA is going to be pretty tough this year, and that's evidenced by the facts already.
Yeah. And spreading that out nationally, Florida went in, upset Nebraska. How big is that for Sunshine State Volleyball in particular, that they were able to pull that off?
Well, I think it's great for Sunshine State Volleyball. I mean, to go into Nebraska and beat Nebraska at Nebraska in front of those fans, that's a pretty big deal when you can go in and do that. So kudos to them for having that early season success, and there's many more challenges that are out there waiting for them. The SEC is going to be tough again this year, but I'm sure they're well on their way to having some success this year. So congrats to them, and we wish them the best.
$64,000 question for you. Is Penn State ever going to lose?
I don't know, not with the preseason schedule that they played so far. Penn State's pretty infamous for kind of playing a lighter schedule, at least early in the year, and kind of they work their way in. And you know what? I don't blame them. Why? They're going to see plenty of competition once they get to the Big Ten season, and certainly they're going to see plenty of competition once they make it to the tournament. Penn State's going to still be for real, and as long as they're getting the athletes and the players that they're getting, and as long as Russ Rose is the coach of that program, they're always going to be there in November and December. But I don't see them losing in the first few weeks of the season this year.
They still have that big fat red target on their back, and it only gets bigger every weekend. Because even the small guys who come in, they know that they could have a shot. They could have a shot. You never know what can happen on any given night. So how difficult is that? I mean, you as a coach, if you find yourself in that position, put yourself in Russ Rose's shoes. How do you get through that day in and day out?
Well, I think you just weather the storm, because every team is going to come in and they're going to give you your best punch, and they're going to punch you hard. And are you going to reel back, and are you going to wait to be punched again, or are you going to slug back as hard as you can? And that's what a Russ Rose team does. They come back and, all right, you punch me, I'm going to punch you twice as hard. And that's how they're able to come back. Now, we've seen at times it's taken a couple games for them to come back and punch back. But at some point that team's going to punch back, and when they do, it's going to be hard. And I think that's what you do as an opposing coach. You have to walk in and you have to startle them right away. And then you have to maintain your composure and not think about what the outcome could be, but just think about how the process that you need to take to get to that outcome. That's the way you knock them off. But it's easy to say on paper how you knock off Penn State. It's going to be a lot harder in reality.
All right, well, it's also going to get a little bit harder for UCF as the season progresses, heading up, like we said, to UNC Wilmington this coming week. But then you guys are finally back home for the home opener coming up in a couple of weekends, and it should be a lot of fun. Don't forget, you can follow everything with UCF Volleyball on UCFathletics.com. Also, check out UCF Volleyball on Twitter. UCF_volleyball is the Twitter handle. So this has been Holding Court with head coach Todd Dagenais. We will catch you again next week when the Knights return from North Carolina, the Tar Heel State, hopefully with another 3 victories in hand. We will see what happens, Coach. Once again, thanks, and we'll see you next week.
All right.
This has been Holding Court with Todd Dagenais. I'm Jeff Sharon. We'll see you again next week.